Guess what, GMR Show listeners?
Your favorite movie writers are back.
We're back!
New content.
Dun 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 dun. New segments!
New guest stars.
New GMR Show game show!
And we're still gonna talk about Back to the Future 3! Yeah!
Wait, Gabe, I didn't agree to that.
No, that's my whole thing is we talk about Back to the Future.
We can't... We're season 2, though. We gotta move on to new movies, Gabe. New movies!
Plus old ones!
Season 2!
Including Back to the Future 3!
Get off of Back to the Future 3, Gabe! This is a new season!
Fine. Coming soon!
Actually, it's starting right now.
Oh, what?
All right, everyone. Quiet on the set. Places. We've got a show to make here. Are Chris and Gabe ready? They are. Okay, everyone. In 3, 2, 1, and... Coming to you live from sunny Orlando, Florida, it's the Great Movie Radio Show, a movie talk podcast starring Chris and Gabe.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 2 of the Great Movie Radio Show. With me, as always, is our wonderful co-host, the Louise to my Thelma, Gabe. How are you doing, buddy? How's it going?
Wait, am I Gabe or am I Louise? Or am I Bob?
You could be all of the above.
Bobby! All right.
Bobby.
No, I'm good, man. It feels like forever since we've sat down and done this. You know, we took our break. It's crazy, but I'm so excited to be back.
Crazy to think that we haven't done a recording since September. What's great with that is, you know, new things are happening this year. You and I are still recording remotely, but we've got some upgraded equipment, which is really cool.
Yeah, we fancy.
We've got new movies coming out this year, which you and I are going to talk about for a little bit, because usually we just kind of be like, hey, we're here, guest time. We're actually going to talk for a little bit.
Over here. So we recorded this bit like earlier this month, and some of these movies have been like moved again. So some of the dates you're about to hear aren't right. Just a heads up, things got moved. Some are still the same. Okay.
This weekend, or this horrible movie is on this streaming service. Watch it, please. It's horrible. So, this episode, we're going to talk about movies that are supposed to come out this year, because as we know, coronavirus is still a thing, and you know, theaters are open in some areas, but movies are still shuffling around, and some are going to streaming, and some are getting pushed back for the 7th time. So these are movies that we're excited that are supposed to come out this year, but as we all know, that may change.
Yeah.
Life is what it is right now. So, but we've got a calendar of what's supposed to come out, and there's some pretty solid movies coming out. Starting with the SpongeBob 3.
I you know, in the SpongeBob universe, I don't know exactly where it falls, but yes, as films, if we're just counting them, then yes, it's the third.
I think it's the third official feature SpongeBob film, which, you know, SpongeBob is SpongeBob. There's no, you know, linear, you know, timeline, I don't think. But it's supposed to come out on CBS All Access, which is cool because, you know, their parent company, they own Nickelodeon. But I'm sad because, you know, I work in a theater, and that was one I was highly looking forward to because I do really enjoy SpongeBob from when I was younger. SpongeBob's always good. You know, anytime you have a conversation with anyone, you can quote, you can post a meme, anything. SpongeBob is just transcending time and space.
I mean, shoot, he was in the NFC playoff game this past weekend.
Exactly. Going down the list, there's other movies like Nomadland with Frances McDormand. I'm really looking forward to that one. There's going to be a Tom and Jerry movie. Did you see that?
I saw the preview for that, and it's funny because I saw it on Facebook, and I saw that one, and then they're also making a Clifford movie, and I'm just...
I did hear about that.
I don't know how I feel about it because I love Tom and Jerry and love their antics, but I feel indifferent when they take those old cartoons and turn them into CGI and try to tell this new story.
Well, they humanize it, which, we're watching these cartoons to be taken out of the human element. It takes out of what I enjoyed from those cartoons, personally. Now, granted, I think it'll be cute. I'm sure it'll be bonkers, and the humor will still be there, and it'll be fun. But if I'm going to watch a Tom and Jerry movie, I want to watch an actual, just them getting up the stuff for... What your average animated feature is about an hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes, maybe. That would be it for me. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. That's one of the Warner titles that's going to do the in-theater and HBO Max at the same time.
Yeah, that's wild. When they made that announcement, I was blown away, and also so happy that I have HBO Max. It's interesting.
Want to skip the theater?
I think it's interesting depending on the. Who's watching the movie, because for us growing up with those movies, we very much know it the way we have it and all that stuff. So if it changes, then it's it takes away that nostalgia feeling where kids nowadays who may have never seen Tom and Jerry see this movie and think, wow, this is hilarious, this is the best thing ever. So
and there's the gateway to let me show you, child. The one downside, and I'll only call it a downside because I only know this director attached to one other set of features. And it's Tim Story, and he did the Fantastic Four movies, the first two, with Chris Evans.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those were, So, I don't know. Maybe it'll be good. Who knows? We've got other movies coming out. Coming to America, which is Coming, the number 2, America. It's a sequel to Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall's Coming to America from the 80s.
Yes.
And that's going to be on Prime, which I'm sad it's missing theaters. But again, things are a little different right now. Netflix is buying up movies. Amazon's buying up movies that were supposed to be in the theaters. So we still get to see it. That's good news. And I'm really excited for that one. Really love the original. It's a classic. Yeah. We've got others, Raya and the Last Dragon, which possibly later this season, someone I worked with at Star Tours worked on this movie and may be a guest with us. So more on that coming down the season. Yeah. The Kingsman, which, God, I can't wait for this. You were excited for this one.
Yes, I am very excited. I love the first two ones. Now, it's interesting because, it's the third installment in the movie, but it's like a prequel on how the Kingsman started and all that. So it should be interesting, and I'm curious to see where they go with it. I know some people who also love the movie, they're very upset because no Eggsy, but
what you got Ray Fiennes though, and
I know
that's all you need.
But hey, we can't please everyone. But I am very excited to see what happens in this movie, and who knows, maybe Elton John will make another appearance. A younger Elton, maybe Eggsy will come back, but as Elton John. What's his name? Taron Egerton.
That's how you do it. Just have Taron Egerton. Well, I don't know how Elton John will show up in the early 1900s. Maybe it's No.
It's they take. So what happens is after Back to the Future 3, they take the train. Bam! I threw it back in there.
You're already bringing that up after our intro. Already bringing it up. Let's continue. The new James Bond movie, James Bond 25, No Time to Die. This has already been pushed 3 times because of the COVID-19. It was the first big movie to actually get moved. And there's already rumor, apparently I saw on the interwebs yesterday, there's rumblings in the dark that it's going to get pushed to the fall of 2021. I had to stop myself because I was going to say 21. Thank you, Gabe, for making that a thing.
You're welcome.
So it's supposed to come out in April, but it's possible it may get pushed again. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I am very excited for this movie. There's a new Mortal Kombat. Did you see that?
I have not. There is?
James Wan is producing, and everyone who's attached to it, it's a lot of, I won't say unknowns, but lesser known actors. I've never really heard of many of these people, but it's supposed to come out in April. It's another Warner-owned title, so HBO Max, there you go. Quiet Place 2 is supposed to come out in April, and that one we've been all waiting for since the first one. The first one really changed the game for horror films, in my opinion. Out of the gate, it was a huge hit at my previous theater I worked at, and we were selling out shows left and right for this movie, and I hadn't had a chance to see it. And then finally, I saw it when it came on home video, and I was just like, "Holy crap, this is amazing!"
What's funny is I'm not 100% sure, but I'm like 90% sure I went to your old theater to see A Quiet Place, the first one, and I just remember like it starting, and this was an opening week, and so people already had like their thoughts and stuff like that, and people put stuff in the air. So it started, and it was like me. I went to the movie by myself because whatever. But it was me and maybe like 7 other people in the theater. The movie starts and it's quiet, and everybody, you could feel like everybody just like on the edge of their seat, like what's gonna happen? I don't know, and everybody's quiet. And then like 5 minutes later, this couple walks into the theater late, and you hear them down the hall just like talking, and the entire theater, including myself, all turn and just go, and they were just like, oh, and like
people like don't. This is an experience, and that's what it was. It was the tension and the anticipation that this movie built up. That it was just, what's going to happen. The sound and the engineering that went into the soundtrack. And I don't just mean the music. I mean like the sound quality the film. Just oh my god, they did such a good job with honing in on that mentality and just making you sweat for, just the sake of sound.
I literally was on the edge of my seat, and I don't mean like, I mean like I legit was like on the edge of the seat, like what? Oh my god!
You were sitting on the edge of the recliner like it was a diving board.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I did a couple backflips. I didn't land it.
Someone in the second row holds up a sign with a 10.
But no, like this and Inception were 2 movies that I sat on the edge of the seat, and I was like, what?
Well, it's movies like these that I, back in the day when I was in school, I wanted to go into sound engineering and sound design for film, and I just never got around to finishing that stuff. But you look at these types of movies are prime examples of why I wanted to do that, is because, it brings out the emotion. I've said it many times to many people, you can watch a movie on mute, and it doesn't have the effect that it does when you have this blaring soundtrack, or when you're watching it and you're anticipating sound and there's silence, and then all of a sudden, brah,
Yeah.
And that's something I really thought was just powerful in the sake of film, and that's why I want to always be a part of it. Never got to go through with that dream, but here I am, and we're talking about it, so that's good enough.
Yeah.
And it's just that movie will always stick out to me. It's a great film. Very popular when it came out, and I can't wait for the second one. Wow, we were really on that one for a while. Last Night in Soho, Edgar Wright, who his previous film Baby Driver, and one of my favorite movies of all time, Hot Fuzz. He's coming out, and it's a horror film. Edgar Wright's doing a horror film, and Anya Taylor-Joy, Matt Smith from Doctor Who, Thomasin McKenzie, who was just in Jojo Rabbit. Great cast. That's supposed to come out in April. I'm trying to quicken this up. We've got Black Widow, supposed to be in May, finally. Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds, that's supposed to be in May as well. That one looks super silly, and of course it's teaming up Ryan Reynolds and one of my favorites, Taika Waititi, which no one seems to remember, which I don't think they want to remember either. They were both in Green Lantern together, so sorry to bring that up with everyone. Yeah, I know. Godzilla vs. Kong, that's supposed to come out in May, and another one of those HBO releases as well. That's the movie, because Legendary, the production company, Legendary, is behind it. They're the ones that are kind of fussing with Warner Brothers about, why didn't you consult with us about this before you did the whole... They're the ones making a big to-do, and I mean, granted, like, I'm neutral on it, rightfully so, involve your partners, but at the same time, things are different, so we'll see. Spiral with Chris Rock, that's supposed to be a sequel or reboot to the Saw franchise. So that's going to be interesting. And it's crazy to see Chris Rock in a serious role. He did Fargo, the TV series, recently, which I still need to go back and see. I've only seen the first season. The trailer blew me away when I saw it. I was like, this looks really good. I mean, the first couple of Saw movies are great, and then it was just kind of like spiraling out. I went there. I'm sorry. Cruella with Emma Stone. That's supposed to be about the 101 Dalmatians. F9. It's literally just what it says right here.
F9 you too, okay?
Fast and the Furious 9, which maybe they're going to space in this one. Who knows? The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. I think that's Conjuring 3, technically. Is that what it is? I don't know.
I have no idea.
That's supposed to come out in June. Another Warner movie, so HBO. Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yes.
Finally, I
yes,
cannot
yes,
wait for
yes.
this movie. The fact that Paul Rudd's going to be in a Ghostbusters movie, you had me sold. But then the fact that it's continuing spiritually from Ghostbusters 1 and 2, yeah, I'm all over it. And it's his son directing it, Jason Reitman. In the Heights comes out in June, and that is, you probably know more about it than I do because you're more into the musicals than I am.
I am very excited for this.
The trailer looked really good. I'm excited to see it.
I'm excited to cry in the theater.
Well, that will happen.
Or on HBO Max in my bed.
Yeah, it's going to have both. Crazy Rich Asians director John Chu. Is that how you say his name? John Chu is directing it, and it's Lin-Manuel Miranda's breakout musical that won a Tony Award in 2008. So pretty great that we're getting a screen adaptation of it. Also, at the end of June is supposed to be Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Venom 2.
I'm very excited. A lot of people didn't like the first one.
It was okay.
I liked it till the end, and then I was kind of confused, but I liked it.
But Andy Serkis directed it, so that's where I'm interested. It's like, Andy Serkis, huh? Okay, we got to see where this is a thing. Got another Minions movie in July, yada yada. Top Gun Maverick. Now I'm excited for this one, not because we're rehashing on old 80s movies, which, has been kind of successful lately. Tom Cruise is back, and Joseph Kosinski, who directed him in, it got kind of panned by critics, but Oblivion, the sci-fi movie Oblivion, I liked that movie a lot. It was original, in my opinion, and I think I could tell the chemistry with Tom Cruise and the way the movie flowed, that the director and Cruise have a really good chemistry. I assume, and I could be wrong, that Cruise knew this was happening and probably was like, I want Kosinski to do it because we liked doing Oblivion together. Who knows? But I loved what the trailer showed us, and I am very excited to see what they do with it. We got Forever Purge, so yay, another Purge movie in July. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So 10 Rings were the villains that supposedly were a part of holding Tony Stark hostage in the first MCU movie, Iron Man. So I wonder if they're going to connect this to that at all. So we'll see. But this is going to be the next MCU project after Black Widow. So we'll see how that goes, and I'm excited for it. Space Jam 2 with LeBron James. Enough said. It's Space Jam 2. Uncharted, which is based on the video game series by Sony. That's coming out in July. M. Night Shyamalan's got a new movie, Old. New movie, Old. I had to laugh at how that sounded.
Get Out.
That's supposed to come out in July. This one I'm really excited for. Green Knight. David Lowery, who did Robert Redford's The Old Man and the Gun, is doing this, and it's based on the 14th century poem Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. It's supposed to be a medieval fantasy. It's got a splash of horror to it, so I'm really excited. I'm going to have to go quicker here because we're running out of time on this segment. Jungle Cruise is coming out in July. Another Hotel Transylvania in August. Whoopie-doo. James Gunn and the Suicide Squad. He's not in it. He's directing it. Wouldn't that be funny? It's like a band. James Gunn and the Suicide Squad. This is part of the Warner slate, so HBO is part of it. He has just brought in this like Dirty Dozen style Suicide Squad film, and for those who have seen like the behind the scenes footage from the DC Fandom or whatever, this movie's gonna be hot. I mean he scored big with Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, and then there was the fallout with Marvel, and now he's back, yada yada. But in between that, he signed on with DC to do this, and finally we're getting to see it. I can't wait. The cast is phenomenal. The fact that he made his brother, Sean Gunn, a CG weasel is going to be hilarious. Candyman, which is going to be a sequel to the old Candyman with Tony Todd. Jordan Peele is in on this, on the production, and Nia DaCosta is directing it, and the sequel just looks phenomenal. I've seen the first Candyman. I saw it over quarantine. I haven't seen Candyman 2 or 3, which, I heard they're okay, and, skip them if you want to. But this looks like it's going to go back to the original and continue that. We've got a 4th Jackass movie coming out. If you weren't done with Jackass, they weren't either. Boss Baby 2, I'm surprised the first one happened. Death on the Nile, which is going to be Kenneth Branagh's follow-up to The Murder on the Orient Express, which I liked. It was a good movie. Death on the Nile looks like it's going to be stronger to me. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. October, Dune. I cannot wait for Denis Villeneuve's Dune. And this is also part of the HBO Legendary Studios scuffle right now with the HBO Max release. But the movie looks highly impressive. The trailer came out a few months ago, and I lost it. I was like, this looks incredible. Everything he did with Blade Runner and bringing Blade Runner back, this looks like it's just raising the stakes on his directorial efforts. And it's going to blow everybody away, I think. It looks incredible, and hopefully it does better than the David Lynch movie did back in the 80s, because that movie, as much as a mess as it was, it's still a cult classic, and it's fun to watch, but it was a messy movie. Do you know much about Dune, Gabe?
No, not at all.
That's okay. We don't have much time. I'm sure we'll talk about it later in the season. Morbius with Jared Leto. It's a Spider-Man villain character, somebody.
He's great.
That was supposed to come out in March, but it got pushed to October as of a couple days ago. The new Halloween movie, Halloween Kills, that's coming out in October. Snake Eyes, which is a new G.I. Joe film with Henry Golding. I'm excited to see that. We're going down the list here. We're in November. The Eternals, another MCU movie. That's going to be pretty epic. Mission Impossible 7. So if you weren't tired of Tom Cruise and Top Gun 2, you can get him in Mission Impossible 7. That's coming out in November, so happy birthday, me. And then we've got December is just stacked. West Side Story, the Spider-Man 3 movie, Matrix 4. Matrix 4. That's all I've got to say about that. I don't know where they could go with this, but they somehow pulled Matrix 4 out of their butt, and we're getting it. And I'm excited to see it after they clean it off. Sing 2.
How dare you?
You said gross. I had to bring it back. Sing 2. I haven't seen the first one, but I've heard it's fun. That'll be good for the kids. Sherlock Holmes 3. Downey Jr.'s back with Jude Law. I'm excited for that. This is like one of the first big movies that Downey Jr. will be doing post MCU career for him. So that's great. Dexter Fletcher, who took over directing for Bohemian Rhapsody from Bryan Singer. And he was also the director for Eddie the Eagle, which is a favorite of mine with Taron Egerton. You like him.
I do.
So he's taken over the directorial chair for these from Guy Ritchie for the first two. So that'll be good. A nice Christmas movie for everybody. And then Damien Chazelle, who did First Man and La La Land, is supposed to, it's still like in pre-production. It's supposed to be an old Hollywood tribute movie, kind of like La La Land is. But Emma Stone and Brad Pitt are in talks, and it's supposed to be a Christmas Day release. So we'll see if that happens. Called Babylon. So that's that was a lot of movies that are. And there's still
more. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
More that don't even have dates. That's our what's supposed to be. Well, usually it would be what's coming in this year, but this year it's what's supposed to be coming in 21-21. I'm never gonna.
You're never gonna let me down. Never gonna let.
That was for you, Gabe.
Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna talk with our guest here in just a moment. So stick around, and we're gonna take a small break. And when we come back, we'll have Brian Collins, who worked on The Great Movie Ride as an Imagineer. So that's going to be fun. He wasn't one of our tour guides or anything. He actually wrote on the script and was a part of other things variously throughout the ride's history. So it's going to be a fun conversation, and we're going to go around the track with him. Right, Gabe?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How dare you?
All right, we'll be right back on the Great Movie Radio Show. Stick around.
Woo!
And now the GMR Show presents Moments in Film History.
For today's Moments in Film History, we're going to take you all the way back to 1894, where the first commercial movie theater opened its doors in New York City. A few years prior, Thomas Edison had patented his idea for the kinetoscope film machine, which was a loop of translucent film moving in front of a light inside a peep show type of a box. Alfred Tate and the Holland brothers put 10 machines in their store and opened up Saturday, April 14th, 1894. This has been a moment in film history, and you are listening to the Great Movie Radio Show.
Hey, Great Movie Radio Show listeners. Hope you're enjoying this show, and we want you to be a part of it. Head over to the GMRshow.com and to our contacts page and sign up below. Make sure to add that to the future 3-tier list.
On the GMR show today, joining us for our first guest of season 2. So excited to have Mr. Brian Collins on the GMR show. Welcome, Brian. Thank you for being a part of this. Yay. Oh, you didn't do the echo thing in your show.
Hang
It's
on.
okay.
Yay!
Yay. Welcome to the GMR show. Honestly, if it wasn't for what you did for the ride, this podcast wouldn't exist. So thank you.
Yes.
Really.
Well, I came in a little bit after the fact. The ride was already going, so it's a good thing the ride didn't close down after I came in.
Yes.
That's true. But your contributions have made
Yeah.
GMR one of the most iconic attractions at Disney, and the fact that we get to continue celebrating it today via this podcast, it's a lot of fun, and it's just a pleasure having you on the show. So thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us and talk movies.
Well, this will be fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll get started. What exactly did you do? Because you were Imagineer for Disney, and you plus the script. So just go and talk about what that was like and what that entailed.
So I was a show writer in Imagineering. And when you talk about show writing, it's not just writing, like stage shows or shows. It's about writing for the Disney show as a whole. And when I came in, the Great Movie Ride had been up and running probably for about already 3 or 4 years. And at one point, my creative director came to me and he said, we want to go ahead and kind of update the script a little bit. There's some issues within the ride. And, it was just a good time to kind of for us to step back and maybe do a reality check of how the show was performing and being received. One of the things that's really kind of fun and interesting is like I'll give you an example. When the Great Movie Ride first opened, the gangster would take over the ride vehicle, right? Mm-hmm. And in the process of doing that, he would actually shoot the tour guide. And the tour guide, when the ride opened, actually had like a rip-away Velcro pocket. And underneath that, there was a little blood splat, on the costume. So he would do this over-the-top comedic death, and kind of fall over the rail. And then the gangster would hijack the vehicle and go on with the show. And, at some point, they probably realized it's not a good idea, for the gangster to be shooting the tour guide in front of kids and, wasn't that family-friendly. So that was one example. And I was asked to go in and kind of plus the script a little bit. And more than plus the script, really kind of work on the staging of both the gangster scene and the Western scene to make sure that it was a good show, a consistent show for every guest that went through, and the sight lines were okay. And then to do away with certain things. So we put instructions in the script. We were very careful about like hand placement, for example, or gun placement. So up until that time, there wasn't that much of it within the script. And we made sure that, at no time, for example, would you ever see the gangster or the bandit pointing the gun towards a guest or towards another human being. Whenever they fired, they would fire the gun up in the air, or, away, very obviously away from the ride vehicle or anything like that. So that was a big part of what I did. Was we spent a lot of time going through the staging in the sight lines and then kind of updating the script a little bit. I redid the exit spiel at the very end of the ride, which is more of an operational thing, where it's basically, gather your belongings and exit the vehicle and have a great day. And we wanted to make that a little bit more themed to the attraction. So I kind of rewrote that to be like the Oscar speech, remember me at Oscar time. And we have one last scene here. It's called The Exit. It starts with giving your tour guide a thunderous applause. And so just kind of had some fun with it that way. It was really kind of cool.
Nice. I have a live question from our fans that are listening live. Obviously, this is not from me. But what does plussing the script mean?
Okay, so plussing is a term that we use in Imagineering. And it doesn't have to do with scripts. It's just a general term that we use when we're going in and we're like enhancing an attraction.
Gotcha.
So it's just kind of referring to enhancing or updating,
Like adding on, kind of.
adding on, exactly.
Gotcha.
Plus,
Gotcha.
yeah,
Gotcha. The fans will appreciate it. That question again was not from me.
yeah. So I'll tell you one other thing I did too that was really fun is that I also wrote character profiles for each of the characters. So and this wasn't anything that the guests would ever see. These were like life stories, little mini life stories of the characters. And the reason that was done is that depending on the cast member playing the part, you never really knew who you were going to get. Some cast members were fantastic at playing the roles. Other ones were, I mean, they are who they are.
Yeah.
But we wanted to try and make the show as consistent for every guest every time they saw it. So I went in and I wrote these backstories for the gangster and the bandit, telling who they were and giving a little bit of their life story. And anyone that put those costumes on and played those roles would kind of walk into it having that background. So, for the gangster, for example, I can read real quick, just a quick paragraph of what his profile was. And it went something like this. Muggsy is a classic Prohibition era crook a la John Dillinger. According to police records, he is 29 years old. His rap sheet goes back to the days when he was a kid scamming tourists and picking pockets. Muggsy has worked his way up the local crime scene, one bullet at a time. He is cocky and arrogant and has always felt he was one better than the next guy. Muggsy likes to exchange lead with the local authorities, or even better with rival crooks trying to move in on his turf. And then it kind of goes on from there. So
That's
Nice. Yeah.
outstanding. That is
Yeah.
outstanding.
I'd have to look at my scripts that I definitely don't still have. But I remember when I was a trainer at Great Movie Ride, I would use those for our tour guides and our characters when I would train them and stuff. And they were, especially if they were having trouble trying to figure out the character. And
yeah,
so that's
Kinda get
awesome.
them into the moment,
yeah.
That is wonderful. Awesome. You were able to, add on to those scenes and write the background characters. Did you have a favorite area of the ride?
Oh boy. So honestly, my favorite part of the ride was the montage at the end. The movie, I used to love watching that movie montage. As far as the actual scenes within, it's like pick your favorite kid. I,
Icing on the cake of that ride, really.
yeah, I mean, I always loved like Anubis and the Indiana Jones area. I thought was kind of fun. I don't know. I liked all of it. Different parts of it for different reasons. The Wizard of Oz, because back in that day, she was the most advanced audio animatronic figure that we ever had, and it was just very cool watching her. And sometimes there were some funny little, if the smoke didn't come up at the right time, or she didn't come up at the right time, or things like that. But
We all had that moment.
yes.
Oh, good times.
Yeah.
Good times. Do you have any cast members or trainers that or people that worked on the ride that helped with your plussing or staging that you wanna say hello to that may be listening to us?
Yeah, well, actually, so one of the guys that deserves as much credit, certainly as I do, that helped me out. He was kind of like my partner in crime. Was at the time he wasn't in Imagineering, but he eventually moved over to Imagineering. He was he was kind of like I think a performance coordinator, performance trainer is what they called him. But his name was Gary Rohrman. Gary was turned out to be a great friend of mine, and he and I spent a lot of time. And the one cast member I remember. So this is kind of a fun story. The one cast member I remember was a young lady that was helping us out. We would usually go in like very early in the morning before the attraction opened, and we'd have one or two cast members that we could use, kind of like as our crash test dummies. We'd say stand over here and hold the gun like that, or kind of act through this scene or that scene, just so we could kind of tweak what we were doing. And this one young lady, her name was Deborah Smaraba, if I pronounced that correct. And I remember one morning Deborah came in, and she said, "Hey guys, you'll never guess what, but over the weekend I won this contest to be on the radio,
Nice.
and they're going to have me come in and be like this, like a guest DJ kind of a thing." And we're like, "Wow, that's really cool." Well, as it turns out, she did such a great job that they wound up not only having her back, but eventually she got hired, and she is now still on the radio to this day. She goes
Oh wow.
her married name is Deborah Roberts. You may have heard her, but Deborah Roberts, who's now a pretty well known on air personality here in Orlando, started out as a tour guide in the Great Movie Ride.
That's cool.
So,
That's awesome.
and I've always wanted to like run into her again, like at a community event or something. And, I haven't had the chance to bump into her, but that'd be a fun conversation. Like, hey, do you remember me?
We should reunite the both of you via the show.
Yeah.
That would be
It's
fun.
fun.
What was your partner in crime's name again?
Gary Rohrman.
Gary Rohrman. Thank you,
Yeah.
Gary, for your contributions to the ride as well. We
Yeah.
appreciate what you both of you brought to it. And even when I came in all those years later, and I know Gabe was there a few years before me, a lot of that was still there. So
Yeah.
thank you for doing that. It definitely
Yeah.
made the
Yeah.
ride as enjoyable as it was for us. That's
Yeah.
very
sure.
awesome.
Well, my kids, were never impressed. You're never a captain on your own ship, right? I mean, so my kids actually, they weren't even born when I was working at Disney. But certainly growing up, they knew I was an Imagineer. Never impressed them or anything. And every once in a while, I would say, I worked on that or I did that, and they'd be like, "Nah, you didn't." Be like, "Yeah, here's the script." "Oh, yeah, I guess you did." So it was kind of fun being able, as they got older, to kind of take them into the attractions and ride them and kind of experience it through their eyes. And then they still didn't, impress. I still wasn't impressive to them or anything. But
It'll never be enough.
yeah,
Whatever, Dad.
Yeah. Wife is like, take out the garbage. Okay, great.
Oh man, that's funny. Well, hey, before we go and do Around the Track, we're going to talk about your 5 favorite films. And
Okay.
I love this list. Usually we'd actually go in and dissect it a little bit, but we've got different things we've added to the show this time around. So we're going to list your 5 and let you talk about them for a brief moment.
Okay.
These can't be missed. These 5 movies are great. You've got Blazing Saddles,
Yeah.
and you put or any Mel Brooks film.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sunset Boulevard, Princess Bride, Blade Runner, which is a favorite of mine, and Inglourious Bastards, which is my favorite Tarantino film. It's such a solid list, man. and I guess the question is, what is it about these movies, which is really hard because they're so different.
So I think when I'm thinking about this, I mean, listen, you ask someone to write out a list like that, and you don't really sit down and like think about, well, why are these my favorite movies? But now that you're asking me, and I'm kind of thinking about it, I think the one common thing that all of these have are great stories. And being a story guy, that's obviously something that speaks to me. Whether you're telling a wonderful tale about a washed up Hollywood writer that's taken and I don't want to say held hostage, but by a 1930s film star. I mean, it's just they're all kind of like, all these movies have these kind of like crazy premises, but they're just really very tight stories, very well done stories. A lot of them have got humor in it. Well, Sunset Boulevard doesn't have a lot of humor, but
It's got its moment.
yeah, and Blade Runner, I wouldn't say much, but visually, I think they're all like, I love the visuals in Blade Runner. What Ridley Scott brought to that was fantastic. And Glorious Bastards is just, Quentin Tarantino just all of his movies just have that little kind of twist at the end. Um, I, I think they're all just like really kind of great escapist kind of movies with really solid stories.
I agree with that. I
Yeah,
really do.
and I love introducing people to them as well. I talk about my kids a lot. They're now older, in their 20s. They're out of the house.
They didn't go, yeah, Dad, yeah.
No, my middle son in particular, he's kind of like a clone of me, which is kind of scary. And so sitting down and watching the movies with all my kids, but him in particular, is like just a lot of fun. So
that's awesome. Yeah, Dad. Yeah, we know you love this movie.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen. He's now dating a really nice young lady, and he's warned her many times. That Blazing Saddles will be watched quite often over her lifetime. So
I hope she's okay with that.
yeah, it's not the most politically correct movie, especially these days. But if you look beyond, the crudeness of it and into the humor and what Mel Brooks, the message that Mel Brooks was delivering with it, he really was, kind of making fun of all this stuff, that's in there. So,
of course,
yeah.
course. That's what he's really good at doing.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything aside, the deeper story and meaning behind it, making fun of this, making fun of that. He was a master of that.
Yeah.
And making fun of himself was the best part.
Yeah. And me being a middle-aged Jewish guy, I can probably relate to a lot of that anyway. So what can I say?
Let's go into Around the Track, and we've got our movies picked out from your list that you gave us.
Okay.
And we've got a really great Around the Track going on here. So Gabe is already Gabe's going to be our character.
Man.
We are
Muggsy.
And then I'll be your famed tour guide, because that's all I ever knew in my time at Great Movie Ride. And that's okay. That's okay. We're going to get down to it, and we're going to get on the car, go on the musical. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Great Movie Ride. My name's Chris, blah, blah, blah. Sound of Music. Sound of Music's going to be our musical for this round.
The hills are alive with the sound of music, with songs they have sung for 1,000 years. The hills fill.
I remember my grandmother watching this movie a lot. She was into musicals. She would do them in the church growing up. And this was one of her favorites. Yeah. If that VHS tape was not worn out, I think it's possible she's owned Sound of Music on 3 different occasions, 3 different tapes.
Yeah.
What is it about Sound of Music that makes it a favorite musical, or your favorite musical, I guess you could say?
It's like pick your favorite child. I really have such a diverse taste. So there are lots of musicals out there I love. Moulin Rouge is absolutely one of my favorite musicals. So I mean, there's lots of really cool ones. But Sound of Music, I was kind of going back, looking at the classics, and again, that one, I think it's stood the test of time. It's cast wonderfully, even though Christopher Plummer hated his role, and was notorious for, saying that. I think later on in life, he came back and kind of softened his stance a little bit. But I think it's cast very well. The Rodgers and Hammerstein music is wonderful. Julie Andrews is, just does a great job. And it's just a really interesting story. So I don't know.
And that's no joke.
That's no joke. Yeah.
I say that because it came out on April 1st, 1965. So a very bad pun I kind of threw out there. April 1st, 1965, Christopher Plummer, which is funny because this isn't the only movie on your Around the Track that we're going to do that has Christopher Plummer.
Yeah.
So that's pretty
Right.
fun.
Right.
I love Christopher Plummer, by the way.
Right.
When they Knives Out was a great film. I'm talking
Yes.
about more recent ones.
Yes.
I liked the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movie that Christopher that he was in, that David Fincher did.
Yeah.
And then he recently replaced Kevin Spacey for that All the Money in the World movie.
Yeah.
That I think Ridley Scott did that with Mark Wahlberg. I still need to see it. So the fun thing that we do is, if you had a scene in the movie
Oh,
that you
Lord.
could put on the ride.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say that you could be in.
I mean, if you want to, it could be, why not both?
No. Boy. Escape from the Nazis. Boy, a scene from the movie that you could put on the ride. Oh, wow. Wow. That is, I have, I
It's
don't
a
know.
toughie. It's
Yeah.
a toughie.
Because honestly, I don't know if a whole lot of scenes from that movie really would lend themselves to the great movie ride. I'd probably have the very opening scene with Julie Andrews, at the top of the mountain singing her heart out.
And that's like probably one of the most iconic moments of the
Yeah.
film as well.
Yeah.
So that's pretty great. And then, everyone comes into a great movie ride and they have this iconic moment from the beginning of Sound of Music. And then it would be perfect because it leads into the next movie that we're going to talk about when we go into Mob Crime. So, it's foreshadowing on the great movie ride. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's been one of the fun things that we do, is we always find a way to make it work. This isn't a Disney ride right now. This is our
There's been
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction is definitely not a Disney ride, and we're gonna go there.
We've had countless around the tracks where the kids have cried or wet themselves. So
we have to put a tissue station probably halfway through the ride, because you're going to need them, boys and girls. We can't move on without saying some great things about Sound of Music. It won 5 Oscars. Wonderful cast. Julie Andrews, of course. What a film, Sound of Music. And I haven't really seen it in a long time. It's been remade as a live musical for TV, which I heard wasn't too good.
Yeah.
But none of those really have been amazing, sadly. I know, Gabe, you probably tune in on those more than I do.
Yeah, you're correct. They're
okay.
they're not the best, but hey, they try.
Not to try.
Marie Von Trapp and her children actually ran a lodge up in, I think it was Vermont, for many, many years. I think they may still even, the kids, or even maybe the grandkids now, may still be involved with that. But
that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. We're going to have Julie Andrews sing us out of the musical area and into Mob Crime. And Pulp Fiction is your choice.
Yes.
This came out in 1994, directed by Quentin Tarantino. He was coming off of Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
And this movie just,
Sure.
Man, I love Tarantino's storytelling so much. He's such a strong, like you were saying when we were talking about Inglourious Basterds with your top 5. It just, I love this movie. But tell us about why Pulp Fiction is one of your favorites.
So
in the mob crime genre.
Yeah, so I'll tell you why. The very first time, that was the very first Tarantino movie I ever saw, right?
Yeah.
And the first time I saw it, I didn't like it very much. I was going into completely cold. I didn't know what a Tarantino movie was. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't, and any of that stuff. And it was like, parts of it I found like really entertaining, and then parts of it really disturbing, which is typical of his movies. The very first scene where, the two guys walk in and, they're accosting those two kids trying to get the money. And, it was pretty good. And then, they have the one kid in the car and he shoots him by mistake and blood's everywhere. And I'm like, and then they're just like arguing about, okay, who's going to, it's your fault, who's going to clean it up and blah, blah. I mean, I was just like all over the place. And once I got over that initial shock, and then I started like learning a little bit more about Tarantino's style and everything, and then I went back and watched it a second time, it was like, oh, this is actually, kind of cool. And I think the thing with Quentin Tarantino's movies is that you have to kind of know how to watch them. And you have to have a certain mindset going into them that they're just like a goof. I mean, he's like a big kid. And all of like the blood and everything that he puts in his movie, it's certainly all very gratuitous. And it's, he's just like goofing on you. And then I saw, some of his other movies, Kill Bill and Reservoir Dogs. And, by the time I got to Inglourious Bastards, I'm like watching this movie and I'm like finding myself just like cracking up as people are like getting their heads bashed in and stuff like that. And what was the one with, that just came out with Brad Pitt, right? That took place
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. I saw that on an airplane coming home. And, the people around me must have been like, what's wrong with that guy? Because I was just like, I'm like, there's scenes of like, where they're like torching the people with the flamethrowers. And I'm like, just like cracking up, during this going, oh my God, because it's so over the top. So I have to thank Pulp Fiction for kind of introducing me to Quentin Tarantino. And,
nice.
It's starting to kind of take me down that road.
What scene? Well, I wouldn't say just one. Is there like a moment, I guess, in Pulp Fiction that would be a good? Because we have to be a little.
Use discreet.
I won't say discreet. No, not at all.
Yeah.
We can do what we want.
Okay.
Disney's not paying us. We could interactive. I guess the word would be, because Gabe's taking over. As gangster, and we've got to be a little interactive with the hand. I don't. We try to think outside the box with these things.
We try to figure out a way to, make our own scenes with these movies, but also incorporate the whole hijacking of that great movie it was in this scene.
I don't know. We always like to have fun with it. You signed up for this, man.
So you're asking me what would be a good scene to like reenact in the Great Movie Ride for that?
What would you? Yeah, what would you want?
And this is don't think this is a Disney. We're at Disney. We're on vacation.
No, I'd probably go back to that scene where they blow the poor kid's head off, in the backseat of the car, and and then they have to like put the body in a trunk and dispose of it.
You could even like, I know because the story is told out of order, but you could even have the sequence where Harvey Keitel comes and like cleans up the car,
right,
wiping all the blood out, and
exactly
at Tarantino's house. That could be the entire mob alley,
right,
crime alley,
right, right.
You're Jimmy, right? This is your house?
Sure is.
I'm Winston Wolfe. I solve problems.
Good, we got one.
So I heard. May I come in?
Yeah, please do.
You must be Jules, which make you Vincent. Let's get down to brass tacks, gentlemen. If I was informed correctly, the clock is ticking. Is that right, Jimmy?
100%.
So you wouldn't hijack the ride as a game. Well, you would, because it's Harvey Keitel, but Gabe, I think your character
it's because like we got to go and get this body, out of here. We got to dispose of it.
Imagine coming down the stairs with a body and just throwing it like in the back,
in the front lap of
Road 12.
Some mom, dad, and their kids, in the front seat.
Oh my God! I love. So you're coming in as the wolf, instructing them how to get rid of this Phil Lamar's body. Because that's who it is, Marvin. In the
it's a good thing Disney isn't paying me anymore either.
So we're gonna let Gabe come in as Harvey Keitel's wolf character and take us through Western when we come back here on the Great Movie Radio Show. We'll see you in a second.
Shut up, you two. You want to blow our cover? Psst. Hey, you. You're listening to the Great Movie Radio Show starring Chris and Gabe. Don't nobody move until we get back, or else, if you know what I mean.
Warning. Remain on this podcast. The advertisement you are experiencing is extremely dangerous. Proceed with caution.
Autumn Star Entertainment is an independent producer of movies and video. Their goal is to provide Hollywood-level entertainment for low to no budget. Check them out on facebook.com/AutumnStar Entertainment or on Twitter at AutumnStarENT.
Hey, what are you looking at? Hit the subscribe button to catch more of the Great Movie Radio Show starring Chris and Gabe, and maybe you won't get hurt.
Here they come, boss!
Would look at that, a red light. Running a red light's against the law, and I would never break the law. No more red light.
Hi there, Great Movie Radio Show fans. My name is Dalton Burdett, and I'm here to tell you about the Movie Nights. Well, what are the Movie Nights? The Movie Nights are a small production company out of Orlando, Florida, responsible for award-winning short films, podcasts, and a variety of movie-loving content, and we are also new partners of the Great Movie Radio Show. So, for some more movie-loving content that you guys will probably enjoy, please head over to our YouTube channel, Movie Nights, and you can find the exact link at youtube.com/c/Movie Nights, and also be sure to listen to our podcast hosted by me and my partner Ryan Warner on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. And yes, Movie Nights is spelled with a K because we think we're clever.
Time for Chris and Gabe, hosts of the Great Movie Radio Show, to get back to work. I better lay low for a while, the heat's on. On second thought, I could go for some popcorn.
And we are back, guys. Now that Chris is done talking about Quentin Tarantino movies, I could finally take over for the episode. We're going to head over to Western with Brian and talk about the original True Grit, 1969 with John Wayne.
Yeah.
If you've listened to the podcast before, you know I don't hate Westerns. I've just never really gotten into them.
Yeah.
This is another one that I have not seen. So, Brian, you give us a little synopsis and then tell us why this is one of your favorite Westerns.
So True Grit's the story about a young lady whose parents are killed. And if I'm remembering this correctly, her parents are killed, and so she becomes an orphan, and she decides she wants to hunt down the killers. So she winds up trying to find someone to help her, and most of the people she goes to are like, shushing her away because she's a little kid, a little girl. And they're like, no. And finally she comes upon John Wayne, who's like a drunk ex-sheriff or something. And he's like, all right, I'll do it. And she's offering to pay him and everything. So, he decides to do it for the money. And it's the story of their kind of quest hunting out her parents' killers and the relationship that develops between John Wayne's character and the young girl. How he, she matures, in this journey and quest to find her parents' killers, and he softens up, and it's just a very good classic Western. Lots of great shoot 'em up scenes, and classic John Wayne. And the remake wasn't bad, I will say.
Yeah, Bridges really nailed it, and
what
was her name? Haley Steinfeld, who's now she's in a lot of things now. She's going to be in the MCU, Bumblebee. She's a great actress.
Yeah.
So what about True Grit makes it your favorite Western?
Again, that's another one where a lot like I love like Clint Eastwood's Westerns, his spaghetti Westerns. But True Grit to me, I think it's really good, kind of like a coming of age story. I think it's just a very classic kind of John Wayne, Western. I've always kind of enjoyed Westerns. In that one, I thought, just it had, again, just a really solid story, good characters, good acting. It's hard for me to say what specifically spoke to me from that movie, but it's just always one that I've always enjoyed watching. Yeah.
So of course we're gonna find out from you, what scene would you put in the Great Movie Ride? Now, keep in mind this is a gangster show, but if we were to have a Western show, we would like to incorporate that as well.
So I'd probably have that scene where, she's got to go in and convince, the old drunk sheriff John Wayne, to kind of join her on this quest. And he's like, get out of here, kid, you bother me. And that'd probably be a fun scene there. Either that, or at the very end, there's a really good showdown between the killers and John Wayne, where they're coming at each other on horses, and there's a big shootout. That's a pretty cool scene.
Ooh, yeah.
Where is the girl, Ned?
She was in wonderful health when last I saw her. I can't answer for her now.
You'll answer for her now. Where is she?
Rooster! Make a run for it! I got Maddie! Cheney, too! Well, Rooster, will you give us the road?
Nice.
Hey, Gabe, this is on Prime, too, so if we get to go through with our watch movies with us on Twitch idea that we may do later this season, that's, there you go. You can watch it that way.
Nice. All right, so we're going to leave John Wayne and head over to the sci-fi area. Now, I have seen this movie.
Right.
The original Planet of the Apes with Charlton Heston.
Yes.
I love this movie, and it's just such a fun movie. And I remember watching it as a kid, and I'm just like, what? And then watching it as an adult, and just like falling in love with this movie.
Yeah.
I didn't hate, but I didn't care for the Mark Wahlberg movie. But then I love that they've
that movie was a travesty.
But then they brought it back with the last three, Rise of the Planet of the Apes and all those movies.
Yeah.
And those have been great, and those kind of remind me of the original. But this is probably one of my favorite sci-fis, and I probably didn't even put it on my list.
So Planet of the Apes, for me, that's a really interesting one to think back on. I was probably, so I'm going to age myself here, but I was probably all of about 7 years old when the first one came out. I think it was 1969. If I'm
68.
68, okay. I remember seeing all of them in the movie theater. Back then when that first one came out, I think it was only PG or something, so I probably went with my brother and, my mom or dad or something. And I remember, it's just kind of one of those movies, especially back then, where, first of all, the makeup, was groundbreaking for back in the day. Stuart Freeman did the makeup in that movie, and it holds up to this day, I think. I thought the story, was just, again, there's a message to the story. Kind of a common thread you hear from me, but, the story spoke to me. And it was just a really interesting, as time would go on and I'd watch it over and over as, you get older and you just pick out different pieces, of the message and different parts of it. Just a great movie. I thought the whole series was fantastic.
Yeah, I have not watched the entire series, but I do remember during quarantine, this would randomly come on. I think it was like AMC or TMC.
AMC plays it all the time.
But I would always catch it like 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and it could be the beginning of the movie, it could be the middle, it could be the end, but I'd always like make sure to stop and watch it. And you're right, like the makeup in this movie was like crazy. I remember watching it as a kid, and I was just like so confused. I was like, wait, is that makeup? Like, because obviously, CGI wasn't like too big, and if it was, like, you could still kind of tell it's not as what it is today. But just it was astounding and just crazy to see. And I just remember I was very like lost and confused, but also it blew my mind.
It was all practical. I mean, there was no CGI back then, so the sets were built, the makeup was done, the costumes, even the shot with the Statue of Liberty that was shot as a forced perspective, which I always thought was really cool. You can, I think, Google, there's some behind the scenes pictures of how they shot that final scene. And awesome. It's really kind of cool. Matte paintings. Yeah.
Chambers won an honorary Oscar for his outstanding makeup achievement for the movie too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's incredible. And we've got the best, one of the best Simpsons moments from Planet of the Apes, the Dr. Zaius musical.
Dr. Sayers, Dr.
Between
Sayers.
I love,
Dr. Sayers,
I love that moment so much.
Oh man. So what scene from this iconic movie would you put in your version of the Great Movie Ride?
I would put that final iconic scene where they're coming up to the Statue of Liberty, buried in the sand, and he realizes that he's been on Earth this whole time, and just is screaming out, "Damn you to hell!"
Oh my God. I'm back. I'm home. All the time. We finally, really did it. You maniacs! You blew it up! Oh, damn you! God damn you all to hell!
Yeah.
Gonna have to bleep me maybe, but
No.
No.
It's a podcast.
It's
but,
fine.
We've had worse.
Okay.
Yeah, Dalton.
We had to bleep him. Yeah.
Well, then where he says, "Damn you to hell."
We should take that audio and get the video clip of him and put it together and put it on Instagram or something. That would be great.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Or at least just send it to him.
Such a classic, iconic scene.
Yes, it is. Awesome. So we are going to head over to the action adventure scene, and we're going to take the highway to the danger zone and talk about the 1986 cult classic Top Gun starring Tom Cruise.
Yeah. I feel the need for speed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to do the math now. 34 years since it came out, and now we're getting a sequel.
This summer will be 34. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Now we're getting a sequel. Mm-hmm. It feels so long ago, but I'm very excited for the sequel. I love the movie. I remember, and my dad would just put on random movies. He didn't care, what movie it was. He was like, "It's whatever I want to watch." And I remember watching this, and it's a fun movie. I really liked it.
Yeah, it is fun. Lots of testosterone, in that movie. It's a good flick, and part of its appeal to me is I actually serve in the Air Force Auxiliary in the Civil Air Patrol. So I've got that. Yeah, so I've got that Air Force side of me, that really kind of digs, seeing fast planes and things like that.
Well, thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you.
Are you excited for the new one coming out with all?
I am. We're trying to get our whole squadron. If we can do it, and if the plan before COVID, obviously, we were going to take our whole squadron and go watch it. And it's kind of like I remember years ago it must have been the 50th anniversary of Gone with the Wind, and they were showing it in downtown Atlanta. And at the Fox Theater, the fabulous Fox Theater, which was like this old time movie theater.
Oh yeah, I know the Fox.
Yeah, fantastic. And it's kind of like watching the movie in front of the hometown crowd. And I think watching Top Gun with a bunch of Air Force cadets, Civil Air Patrol cadets, it'd be kind of like a fun experience like that. So. Yeah, we'd probably all be throwing popcorn at the screen and everything. They've shown clips and have extended trailers and stuff, and it looks pretty cool. I will say.
Yeah, Cruise is really he ever since he's going over the bar with the Mission Impossible movies, he's always trying to find a way to outdo himself.
Well, he's going up to the space station to film a movie up there.
Oh, I know.
I mean, that's been locked down. I mean, it's crazy.
He's a crazy dude, literally.
Yeah,
seriously.
I would do it in a heartbeat. God bless him. Yeah. I'd be his wingman any day.
There you go.
Nice. So what scene from the original Top Gun movie? Would you put? Yeah, right.
Probably that scene where they come across the Russian MiG the first time. and then he inverts himself upside down, and he's Goose is in the back and takes the picture of the Russian pilot. I always thought that was a pretty cool scene.
I can't shoot this son of a bitch. Let's see if we can have a little fun with him.
Is this your idea of fun, man?
Greetings.
Watch the birdie.
Jeez, I cracked myself up.
Some of those dogfight scenes would be kind of cool. I don't know how you would get that in the Great Movie Ride.
Well, I mean, technology, we could put, I know people frown upon LCD screens on some of the attractions, but you could like have it to where you're coming in. And because I was thinking like, could we find a way to like flip the ride upside down and not kill people? But if you put some in like a kind of like
a 360 dome kind of
Kong, thing. Like Kong or something like that, where it's around them, or what's that? The Harry Potter Gringotts or whatever, where you're in the dome for a second. You can put them in and completely make it feel like they're flipped around. That would be, oh man, we have no money limit here. We're funded by billionaires.
There is no budget.
Elon Musk is paying for this thing, so do what you will. Man, that would.
And I guess give us trouble, we just eject them. I mean, you're out of here.
Yes, it's wonderful. So good. I'm for it.
Oh man, that's awesome. All right, so we're gonna jump into one of my favorite genres, the horror scene. Now, you did put here you're not much of a horror fan, but that's okay. You put a great one with Friday the 13th.
Yeah. So I'll tell you my my history with Friday the 13th. I used to work in a movie theater too.
Oh, nice.
When I was in high school, I was a usher in the movie theater, and when I was working there, happened to be the year that the original Friday the 13th, again, I'm aging myself, came out, and I used to love just going in the movie, and standing in the back, because after a while you've seen the movie like a zillion times, and you're just like, immune to anything on the screen. And there's that final scene where she takes the machete and decapitates Jason, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and everyone just like freaks out and screams and jumps. And I used to love to just kind of, maybe it's the twisted side of me, but just watch everyone like freak out during that scene. It was like so funny to me and so fun to just watch everyone, because you knew what was coming and you knew they had no idea, and it was like, this is fun. So,
how many freaking Friday the 13th movies have there been since then? And then you get your Freddy versus Jason,
right? And
then you've got the remakes and
Halloween and Halloween 3D and
Oh yeah,
Scream 5 or just Scream.
There's a Friday the 13th video game that I have for my Xbox, and it's great because it's kind of like one of those hunt or be hunted games.
Yeah,
and so you can either play as Freddy. Or not Freddy, Jason, sorry.
Wow.
I looked at the word Friday on my screen and the F, it just happened.
Yeah. You're probably going to edit it out so you look good.
Yeah, probably going to. So you can play as Jason or one of the campers or the camp counselors. And what's great is when you can play online with friends or just random people, or you can play like a single player and you just hunt them. But you can be, as you unlock different levels through the game, you can be the different Jasons from different versions, and they're different, like the different outfits, and it's pretty cool. And then you have the shh moment. It's pretty great. Yeah. Gabe, do you have that one? I know you play that Dead by Daylight game.
Yeah, I do play it. I like Dead by Daylight better, but I know they're having issues with it too, because there's a lot of legal issues with the rights of Friday the 13th and all that stuff. And I think that's why we haven't seen a remake for Friday the 13th in quite a while.
Oh yeah.
Well, I was born on Friday the 13th.
Really?
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that's another reason it speaks to me.
There you go. It's always It's always it channels you.
Yeah.
It does.
And I grew up on 13th Avenue. Back, when I was a kid, my home street was 13th
This is
Avenue.
becoming like the number 23, but the number 13.
Yeah.
It's like 5 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, but
and he's in the movie, so that's perfect.
No, it's great, and it's not to talk about me, but that question is in my favorite horror movie, Scream, where Drew Barrymore, and that's the question she gets wrong, and that's why she ended up dying, because the Ghostface asks, "Who's the killer in Friday the 13th?" And she's like, "Jason, Jason, Jason." He's like, "No, Mom." The third one, he doesn't become the killer till the second movie.
Right.
So yeah. So we'll jump over to your scene. Now remember, this is now where the gangster or bandit will depart from the vehicle, and the tour guide will take back over.
Woohoo!
So how dare you?
So I think you got to have the tour guide coming out with a machete.
Yes. I'm sorry, Gabe.
No, I think the tour guide should come out with a Jason mask.
Oh, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Kill him, and then throw out the mask and be like, haha. And to be honest, this is probably like one of the best, takeovers for the new scene we've had, because as with all these horror movies, especially Friday the 13th, you kill him, but he just keeps coming back. Back.
Yes.
It all makes sense. You can ride the ride and like, why do we have the same gangster? I'm like, no, it's not.
We could provide each of the tour guides a different Jason outfit from the different ones too. Ta-da!
Jason X.
Yeah. Oh God, no. Jason in space.
Oh man.
Oh man. All right. Well, I'm going to take over. And,
I guess I'll stop talking because I've been beheaded. So
your head's gone. So if you keep talking, then it's just like a Cronenberg film. So we're going to go into drama, romance, and talk about Somewhere in Time that came out in 1980 with Christopher Reeve, Jane Seymour, and of course Christopher Plummer. He has returned in our Around the Track.
Yeah,
with Brian Collins. I have not seen this movie, but I know of it because, of course, Christopher Reeve sadly didn't get to do too many films in his career, but everyone knows him for Superman.
Right.
But this is another one that's very popular with him. Tell me about this movie for someone who's never seen it.
So it's I think it's kind of like the ultimate chick flick. It's a romance movie, and it's about this gentleman who checks into a hotel in California, and he becomes infatuated with a picture of an actress played by Jane Seymour. Who wouldn't be infatuated, right? Mm-hmm. And it turns out that she and her theater troupe did a play at this hotel like 100 years prior. And he's just like infatuated with it. And I don't want to give away the whole movie because it's a good movie to kind of curl up on the couch with, one evening and watch. But he's actually able to like go back in time and meet her. And it's just a really kind of nice, delightful, like I said, just a really good romantic, not comedy, but romantic fantasy kind of a film. It kind of blends a little science fiction with, the romance genre.
There's been movies kind of sort of with like the time travel and the, finding your love back in time kind of thing. I think there was one recently called About Time or I don't know. Somewhere they all have something with time in the title, and
yeah.
But no, I've never got a chance to see it, and I've heard, I think either my mom or my stepmother may have seen it and loved it or something. I can't remember, but it's been brought up to me sometime in my life. Somewhere in time.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit of a more obscure movie, but if you're asking me for romantic comedy, romance or romantic comedies, that's a pretty good one.
There you go. Well, do you have a scene from Somewhere in Time that you would put somewhere in GMR?
Probably the scene where he's so what happens is,
you can ruin it for me. I don't care.
Okay.
It's okay. I'll see it someday.
So he goes back to the hotel he checks into the hotel and he's rented like some period clothes, and he puts on these period clothes and lays down in the bed and is like trying to concentrate really hard to kind of go back in time, and he winds up going back in time and meeting Jane Seymour's character. I can't remember her name, and they fall. They fall in love, and just as
Elise
they're
McKenna, I think
huh?
that's what it is. Elise McKenna.
Yes, Elise McKenna. And as he's professing his love, and they're making these plans to like get married and live happily ever after, he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out some change, and by mistake he left a modern day penny in there, and he looks at that penny, and that was enough to like snap him out and like send him back into the future.
I think my suit is terrific. I mean, what's wrong with this? I don't care. So what if it's 10 years old?
Oh, at least 15.
15?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's fabulous. Look, let me show you. It's really great. See, the first-class condition. The sleeves fit, which is pretty good for me because my arms are about 9 feet long. And got pockets everywhere. I could pull rabbits out of here. Oh, yeah, this is the best part. This is a special coin compartment for emergency.
Richard. Richard.
So
no.
Yeah, so she's like left crying, and I won't spoil the ending whether or not he gets back to her or not.
Of course he does.
But it's just kind of a very that's kind of like the one of the peak moments in the movie is where he is looking at that penny. So probably a scene where I guess who would be the tour guide looks at his penny and dissolves away. Maybe that's the end of the movie. The end of the ride. Well, thanks for joining me today.
Just leave them there, and that's where the eject seat button from Top Gun comes into play again, right?
Right.
We're going to continue into animation, which, oh God, I'm so excited about this movie. It came out in 1968, and I have somehow seen it twice in theaters. Once recently at a theater down in Lakeland, Florida. The Polk Theater had it. And back when I lived in Atlanta, there was this artsy theater. I can't remember the name of it in downtown that my dad took me to see that and Hard Day's Night. The Beatles' Yellow Submarine is one of your favorite animated features, and it's the one we're going to talk about.
Yes.
I cannot tell you how much I love this movie. I have the Lego set. I have a lava lamp my wife gave me.
Yeah.
Just the vinyl, everything. I'm a huge Beatles fan. It starts with Fred and where do they live? In Pepperland.
The Blue Meanies come and they take over Pepperland, and they right?
Yeah. And he's on Blue Meanies. It's so great.
And they take their giant apples and bop everybody, and Pepperland becomes very like monochromatic and no music or anything. So it's up to the Beatles, of course, to rescue them and bring joy and music and color back to Pepperland. So they hop in their yellow submarine and sing songs, and they go off on an adventure to bring back joy and color to Pepperland.
As the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Killer
so
music.
good.
Yeah.
It doesn't just feature, the Beatles music. It has a great score itself.
Yeah.
That was, tuned around some of their music. And then the Beatles did not voice themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Which is I thought was funny.
Right.
I didn't know till years later, even though at the end you see them with their they had like cardboard cutouts of their animated counterparts.
Yeah.
But they're voiced by 4 completely different people.
Yeah.
The moment I found out about that, it was like when I found out Santa wasn't real.
But the songs obviously are sung by them.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
The songs are still them, and they get all the credit which they deserve. But it's a fantastic.
It's a very trippy movie. Is a good way to put it. It's definitely a product of its time. And the artwork is a product of its time. I just love that very colorful, broad strokes. I had never seen anything before then, or probably since then, that really has been animated in that same kind of style. I remember as a kid, it just kind of captured my imagination. And older now, I've got my Yellow Submarine coffee mug.
Nice.
but I just always loved that artwork. Very bright, colorful, bold, exaggerated. It was fun.
I say this as I'm looking at my Ringo Starr Beatles Yellow Submarine Funko Pop. The only one that's affordable. That set, man, let me tell you, man, those pops are in the multiple $100 price range for just Paul or just John. And poor Ringo doesn't get the love that the others do, but I was able to afford it, so that's why I have it.
Well, there was another artist back in that day, Peter Max, I think was his name, or Maxwell. Peter Max, I think, who drew very much in that same kind of style, and it's very reminiscent of that.
It's a wonderful film. What scene would you put on the ride? Which would be great because we're moving slowly, so you can almost. I'm not trying to fill it, but you can almost have them on the submarine.
Yeah, being on the submarine wouldn't be bad. There's the scene where they find the Nowhere Man.
Oh yeah, Jeremy Boob.
Yeah, that's kind of a fun little scene there. I like the scene where the Blue Meanies and the giant guys with the big apples are bopping everybody. That'd be kind of fun, to kind of
sound effects. Yeah,
have them on either side of the ride vehicle and just bopping all the guests.
Oh no,
with giant apples.
We meanies only take no for an answer. Is that understood, Max?
No, Your Blueness.
That's better. Are the troops in readiness?
No, Your Blueness.
The bonkers?
No.
Clowns?
No.
Snapping turks?
No.
Anti-music missiles?
No.
The dreadful flying gloves?
No.
Splendid.
They're all monochromatic now. What have we
done? Right.
Now, there's a lot of good moments that you could put in there. Oh man, Gabe, have you ever seen Yellow Submarine?
No, and we talked about it last season, and I said I need to put it on my list. And
wait, did we have Yellow Submarine on one, or did we just mention it once?
We either had it or we mentioned. I know we talked
had
about
a different Beatles movie, and Yellow Submarine came up.
Something else that would be fun is that, maybe the ride vehicle turns into a Yellow Submarine and you have all the guests just singing,
Oh, that would be
do a
fun.
big sing-along.
Oh, man, I would. Gabe, why do we always find one scene that we just want to make a whole ride of? Can we make a Yellow Submarine ride? How cool would that be?
That'd be fun.
That would be great. Everyone gets to get in a Yellow Submarine and go on the adventures of Pepperland. That would be fantastic.
And they gotta sing the songs.
Do. Well, we're going to go into comedy. Now, Wizard of Oz wasn't necessarily a comedy. So this is kind of like our way to celebrate the comedic spot. And then we have the fun part of trying to make it interactive at the end.
I always thought the Tarzan scene was kind of a comedy spot.
How many times he got stuck and didn't come out, and you would just hear him yelling because he couldn't swing.
Right.
This is a way to end it. Airplane. Came out July 4th weekend in 1980. Don't Call Me Shirley. What a cast. You got Leslie Nielsen and Robert Hayes.
Yeah.
And, this movie.
My Lord. My poor wife, has got to put up with my juvenile sense of humor. I just love that kind of childish humor. Whether it's Monty Python and the Holy Grail or a Mel Brooks movie or Airplane, the Police Squad TV series that came from that.
There you go.
Leslie Nielsen, he's such a great deadpan comedian.
So what about Airplane, other than what about it makes it one of your favorite? I know you kind of talked about it a little bit, but
I just love, I think the writing in it is very clever. The jokes are just rapid fire nonstop. And again, it's, just school kid humor. You definitely got to check your brain at the door. It's not for everyone, but if you like that kind of humor, it's just so funny. The visual puns to me, that's a movie that, like, if I've had a tough day, at work or whatever, I can put that on in the evening and watch it and just kind of forget about the world.
Those are the best kinds of movies too.
Yeah,
they really are. What scene would you? Because Oz was this, the Munchkins were
Lordy.
everywhere and singing, and then you got the witch, and you're like, no, get out of here. You're a witch, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, what would you do with Airplane in this moment?
I don't know. Maybe where Leslie Nelson is, or not Leslie Nelson. Who's the other guy that tries to talk him down? The real tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's walking through the airport, and everyone's like approaching him, for donations and stuff, and he's just like taking them out, one by one.
Excuse me, we'd like you to have this flower.
Excuse me, sir, would you...
Donation for the Reverend Moon.
Juice for Jesus?
Read about Jehovah's Witness. How about Buddhism? Help Jerry's kids. Oh, yeah. Scientology.
Or nuclear power?
So it's like, get out of here kind of thing. I don't know if there were like, ever any like crying children on the ride vehicle. We can have people lining up with, boxing gloves and a giant wrench and, ready to, slap some sense into them. There's that one scene that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
There's so many classic scenes in that movie. Gosh.
There is, and I'm actually looking at the credits for the film, and the blow up of Otto, the co-pilot guy.
Yeah,
he actually got his own credit. He is credited as himself.
Yeah.
On IMDb.
Yeah, you know what a great scene would be. Now that I think about, would be where he goes into the bar and meets his girlfriend for the first time, and then all of a sudden the disco lights come on, and in the meantime, you've got like Girl Scouts punching each other out, in this barroom brawl and stuff.
That would be a fun
while
one.
he's dancing to, yeah.
That would be a fun one to exit the ride, or at least go into a film montage of, or
yeah.
Gabe, you've seen Airplane, right?
Yes, I have. I watched it like 3 times during quarantine.
I'll give you another. If you like that kind of humor, there's another more contemporary movie that came out about 10 years ago called Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yeah.
You ever seen?
Yes. That movie is so great.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I had no idea what it was or anything when I put it on, and I was just cracking up the whole time. Yeah.
Brian, it was such a pleasure having you on the show.
Oh,
We're going to wheel it in the dock. Getting
Yeah.
to talk about your time helping with the ride and going around the track with you. I'm sure it was really hard to kind of like break down the barriers of what can we do, what can we get away with, and we're just
Yeah.
like, do anything you want. do what you will with this. You had your hand in taking away the tour guide getting shot, and now we're giving you the ability to bring it back, kind of, sort of.
And I am not condoning any kind of violence.
We're not saying it. It's a ride.
It's a ride.
It's a show. It's a ride. It's a show.
Yeah.
We'll let the listeners figure it out. Well, thank you.
It's a mess.
Welcome to the Great Movie Ride, folks.
Thank
This
you.
is the ride. It's a mess. That's what we should have said.
Well, this was fun.
It was such a good time and great having you on. We'll hopefully have you on again. We've got more to talk about with other movies, and we've recently started our GMR Show game show where we do like a Jeopardy style trivia. So maybe we can have you on.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Down the day. Sean Cumberland was our champion last season. We're talking about doing it multiple times this season.
I'll
because
take movies that were supposed to appear but never did.
Oh,
that's actually a good category. Oh, I will make sure you're not on that episode.
Except unless they saw like original scripts, they're probably not going to know what those movies were.
Canned movies for 100, Alex. So yeah, I just wrote that down. That's a great idea. Well, Gabe, do you have anything before we skedaddle?
No, all I could say, it was a lot of fun. Like Chris said, it was awesome to have you.
Thank you.
Hope to hear from you again for part 2, and maybe you'll appear on the game show.
Yeah. This is a wonderful season 2 opener. It was such fun having you. Thank you again, Brian, and thank you all for listening. You can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple, all those. We're gonna sign off now. Thank you for listening. Season 2 has begun. We'll see you soon. Have a good one.
Adios.
The Great Movie Radio Show is recorded in Orlando, Florida. You can visit our website at www.thegmrshow.com. Art direction and logo design provided by Mr. Bayless. Voiceover and intro work provided by Dave Fesky and Joe Erickson. You can find our podcast on multiple platforms, such as Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and many more. Music provided by the YouTube Audio Library. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. Just search The Great Movie Radio Show or The GMR Show. This has been The Great Movie Radio Show. We hope you enjoy your day, and we'll see you at the movies, the stuff dreams are made of. Goodbye, everyone.
You have been listening to a GMR radio production.